Alright, so I have a scene that I built out, and that's my rough starting point, and I want to create some kit bash assets that we can then scatter throughout the scene. Aside from those things, I also want to add multiple characters, but for now let's focus on our architecture, or not even architecture, because none of this will be actually functional, I guess. But it's about using kit bash assets that you can find plenty of on the internet to create multiple, it can be walls, it can be arrays, displays, generators, stuff like that. And using stuff like this, we can easily create our props for the sci-fi like kit bash scene. And yeah, let's just go ahead and start blocking out whatever we want. So I think I want to start with this guy, and we'll just bring that in here. And for now, I'll hide those guys so we can see a bit more clearly what we are working with. And I think I want to do something like this, then flip it 90 degrees on both sides, get a symmetry object going. And by getting the symmetry object going, we can certainly iterate very fast and just get some decently nice results. Let's say this is our side of the object, and I can just copy it by holding Control, and we'll slowly build out whatever it is we are looking for, trying to find shapes that kind of make sense, or not kind of make sense, but that just give a decent feeling across. And by just using all these multiple assets that we have, we can quickly build something like this from scratch, which also means not doing a lot of work, which is either something you don't like or something you realize is a time saver for whatever we are looking for and working towards, because this is super quick, super dirty. We will be using Substance Painter to texture this later on, but before that we will be using Blender to create some very, very dirty UVs. Nothing fancy, but really just something that gets the job done. And it's super quick, and in a matter of minutes you can create multiple different types of devices, floors, tileable walls, stuff like that. So let's just stack and stack upon these items that we find ourselves upon. All right, and once you are done with the base block out, you can start to refine this by adding some cables. So let's actually make sure that we get a proper collider for this, because we will be using the Cinema 4D rope object. So I will first of all set this up by adding a collider to our plane, a hair collider, and then let's see, maybe I want to fill these guys on the right first. So let's get actually draw a spline. I guess we can just use quick shading, and then I'll draw one that goes from the top to the bottom. Should have worked, I think. I'm not too sure. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we will make this, we'll center that spline first of all, and then I'll look for the object that is currently mirrored on the left side, which is this guy. Okay. Well, let's use this one for now. Oh, I picked the wrong one. There we go, it's this one. And then I'll hide the rest for now. And my spline, I will put this guy right inside. Oh, it's a bit bigger. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Right inside this guy right here. So I'll do it like this. And we'll hide this for a second and go into point mode. And as it is selected, I'll hit US and US one more time. I think these types of subdivisions are okay. And then I'll add a rope modifier, or a rope tag actually. And then I will select the beginning point and the end point. And in my rope tag at the bottom where it says fixed, I'll just click set. That means these constraints are now set in place and these points won't move. So let's get a sweep object like this and get a circle object like that. And then we'll turn that circle into 1 centimeter. And under our rope tag, we'll do 1 centimeter. That's good. And then we'll call that cable or rope, whatever you want to call it. I'll copy this 1 time, 2 times. And then under circle, we'll do 0.6. And in the rope tag as well, we'll do 0.6 for the radius. So the collision is also correct. We'll copy that 3 times, and then I'll copy it 1 more time. And I'll turn the circle to 0.4. And the tag as well to 0.4. Copy that 1 time. And we'll add that same collider object to the cage of the object that we want this to be inside in. And if I just click play, you'll see these cables expand and kind of collide with each other. It's not that crazy, but I'll do a slight modification to our spline right here. Select these, make sure that's Bezier and subdivided. That could work better for our use case. So let's hit play again. Now it's way more stringy, right? And for this simulation, I actually want to go into my animation project settings, simulation, sorry, and under scene, set that regular gravity to 0, and then just take a good look at it again. Now they don't boil up at any point because there's no gravity pushing them down. And I'll actually make sure to, let's see, we got 1 spline at the end, that's 0.4. Let's get 1, that's 2 centimeters. And 2 in here as well. And then I'll just move these guys slightly to the left and to the right, to the back and to the front, so that the same beginning and start point isn't active for all of them. And then you get something like this. So if I were to copy these guys 1 more time and press play again, we get a really cool cable array inside. So let's just do it 1 more time maybe. And now we got some fat cables going on inside here, which is super dope. So I'll actually select all of them and click current state to object. Press Alt G, that groups our old ones, cables, and these can be now just combined. I'll just combine a few of them. I usually have like 2 or 3 different cable materials set throughout my props, which is sometimes not even necessary depending on what you want. But I'll just randomly group these guys. And there we go. And then I'll hit them and center them and call that cables side 1. And with this, you have just created some cool cable props. Super easily done. And we can just continue doing so throughout the whole machine, basically. Okay, now we would technically be almost done with blocking out. So what I would do now is get my model ready for Blender to get some dirty UVs. So let's group everything that we have. And then we'll do medium cables. And the big cables, I guess we can kind of join. Now we got our base done. I might need to add a few more things to this. Oh. Luckily, autosave is always the hero. So I will now create a new material. We have 7 different objects in our scene. That's why we will create 7 materials. Call this cable 1. Now that we have our finished model assigned with our materials, we can export this as a Sci-Fi array 1, no UVs, and then we'll import that into Blender to do some very disgusting UV unwrapping. But it gets the job done and it's super quick. So let's import what we have just exported. Make sure the scale is set to 0.1 because Blender's scaling is different. And then we'll just move out a bit so we can see this is what we have. And at the top right next to the 4 materials, you just want to left click when the crosshair shows up and drag. That gives us the option to have a split screen. And we want the UV editor, and we will go into edit mode on our left hand screen. And then I'll click on the array metal and I'll click edit mode. And by hitting A, this pops up and we want to hit U, Smart UV Project, Scale to Bounds. That's fine, that should work. There we go. You have very horrible, disgusting UVs, but it gets the job done. Do the same for the other guy. Smart UV Project, Scale to Bounds. There we go. Hitting the UV Smart Unwrap is super easy and super quick, and we'll just export this into where we have exported the other guy. And then under export, we call this Sci-Fi array 1 Blender UV. You can change the scaling again, but I think 1 should be fine now. We can tick object groups and material groups. Not necessarily necessary, but why not? And let's head into Substance. Now that we are inside Substance Painter, we can just import that model and We'll import it just like this. The Blender UV one, we can take 4K. Our system can handle it. We can always switch back. There we go, that's our model. And we got all the corresponding UVs. And let's actually bake our target mesh maps before we can use anything. And we'll do 2K, I guess. And I think I don't want to bake the cables. So I don't think I need to bake. Actually, I do. So let's actually bake all of it. It might take a while considering it's 49 textures, but yeah, should be doing okay. Let's start with our array plastic, which I always like to do because under smart materials and substance, there's a bunch of stuff that you can easily do to get a nice result with the base materials that come with it. If you have smart materials downloaded, even better because there's so much out there, and you just want to start by, let's do the plastic. So there we go, smart material 1 loaded. I just realized some of the cables went ballistic from the remesh, but I think that's okay. So let's get into the smart material, and under dirt edges we can head into the mask and then just click on it, and we can decrease the level because it is a lot of dirt, which we don't necessarily want. So something like this could seem fine. I think that's okay. And then we can layer another material on top of it. Maybe this one. The steel edges, and under smart mask we can maybe do a concrete edges too. Drag that in here. And then you can see your material is being split up by that mask. And we can then, of course, change our balance. We can change the texture intensity. And if we go inside, we can even make it brighter. Make it not as dark, which would be pitch black. Then maybe possibly slightly color it. Let's turn this into a more yellow greenish color. Something like that. There you have a base, which you can nicely work from. You can even just leave it at that because it's all up to you. Now let's say, you know what, first of all, let's do the metal. So under smart materials, let's get a steel ruined. That looks almost perfect. We got these nice little separations going. This little one looks kind of bad. It's all fixable though, don't worry about it. So let's see, what do we want to do with this? I think I like that. Let's get a little bit of a cleaner metal on top of it, which is also at the same time brighter. And then we can go into smart masks, and then we'll do etch dirty cracks. And let's see what happens if we turn the balance down. This is what we get. I don't like that too much. So let's get a edges dusty going. Yeah, something like that, just to brush it off a little bit. Now we got our metal. And let's say due to the nature of our horrendously, terribly looking UVs, we want to texture this with images and add upon it. So let's go into our plastic And normally what I would do if I had like a transparent logo, which I don't have imported right now, but I'll show you an example. So I would create a new fill layer, and then I will drag my transparent logo in here. Make sure that under UV wrap, the tiling is not enabled, and then I would place it where I would want it to be. That's the downside of models that are UV unwrapped like this. It's impossible to find the spot that you want if it's models that are combined of this much kit bashed assets, but we can find a workaround for this. So let's delete this. And let's import something very simple that I have created specifically for this, which would be our stencil. So let's turn this into a texture and import that into the current project. And under the project tab, you will find your imported texture. So what I would do is I would create a new regular paint layer. And if you scroll down, you can find the stencil. This is what you get. So, oh, I painted by accident. Oh, there we go. Let's import the stencil. And this is what you get. So now you can find a spot that you would like your text to be on. So if you hit S, you can zoom out, zoom in, you can rotate it even, and then you can go into your model and then kind of, you know what, we want to make this bigger and instead zoom way in here. And then I can just take the brush that I currently have enabled and I can paint over, oh, need a new paint layer, of course. And let's turn that size all the way down. I want my brush color to be black and I want this to be super rough. So if I were to paint over here now, then you can get your text from the stencil on here. Easy. And by hitting S, as I mentioned before, you can rotate it, you can turn it, and then you can just find all the spots that you like and just add upon it like this. Boom. Easy. Easy texturing. Maybe go in here. Super small, not even readable. But it's some nice detail work. Well, let's go. Let me find that middle ground. There we go. And then we can go even further and do and there we go. So it is set to 4K, which is good. This is how you would get details onto the model even though your UVs suck. And if you want to texture the cables, you could do that, or you could call it a day and export it like you would normally. And with this, I just slapped a smart dirt material onto the cables. You could do it like this, and now that you're done, you can just export this. Look for something, and then we'll go export, and then we'll do Sci-Fi array 1 textures, substance painter. And considering I am planning on opening this in Unreal Engine, I will use the Unreal Engine 4 packed preset, but I'm sure you know your way around Substance. Pretty sure that's not the first time that you're using it. So you would use the document channels plus normal. For any other software, there's even more preset, the regular PBR one. But yeah, I'm using UE4 packed. You can decide on the texture set size, which would be either 2K or 4K, depending if your object would be in hero prop, one that you go for close-ups or not. I'm not sure yet, so I will pick 4K for now, export it, and then you're pretty much done. So super easy creation. You can kit bash multiple structures in minutes, texture them real quick with the smart procedural substance materials. And if you liked what you did with the texture, make sure that if you would go into your array plastic, for example, if I create a new folder, call this array plastic, copy the base materials that were used for this into here, and then right click, create smart material. You would then get a array plastic material that you could slap on to the next asset that you import, and it would basically give you the same result. So yeah, hope you like this, and let's just see how it looks. So I've used these assets in the creation of this animation. Some of these I've created the floor, some walls, these cable arrays, and yeah, that's pretty much what they were used for. As you can see, no hero props. And this is what I created for my animation. These files are available for free on my Patreon. You don't even need to sign up. You can just head to patreon.com/carlyfets and take a look at them. We got a floor tile, we got some dirty cables, cable mountains, this cable array, that little guy that you just saw me create, and these wall structures. That's all on there for free. As I said before, these are no hero props by any means. These are dirty background props with terrible UVs and terrible poly count. Depends on the model, of course, but yeah. I hope you liked what you saw, and feel free to grab those models and do whatever you want with it. I have also uploaded the full creation process. That's about 14 hours for the animation that I just showed you in its entirety onto Patreon. That is available as well for members. Hope you got away with something from this, and I'll see you guys whenever. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Truly. Mwah mwah.